Daniel Sports Central will be giving you guys my Week 2 XFL game predictions for the 2023 season. The first week of action in this XFL league is in the books, and as we look forward to Week 2, I'll be giving you guys my game picks and predictions here today. Let's get started with the first game of the weekend, which is actually going to be on Thursday night. This game is between the St. Louis Battlehawks and the Seattle Sea Dragons, two of the teams that I consider to be middle-of-the-road teams in the league as we look forward to Week 2. You got the Battlehawks, who I've got ranked at number 5, the Sea Dragons number 4. Despite St. Louis getting a win this past week and Seattle losing, the Sea Dragons did lose to the Defenders, who I do consider to be one of the better teams in the league. Honestly, both teams look pretty good. It was a close game all the way up to the very end. That's why I've got Seattle at number 4. The Battlehawks were impressive in their matchup as they beat the Brahmas, but of course they had to come back to win that game, and it looked like they were out of it for a long time. But the Battlehawks do have experienced quarterback A.J. McCarron. I was impressed by him in Week 1, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 18 for 26. So he was impressive when he played this past weekend. And, the Battlehawks were also impressive defensively in Week 1, only allowing 15 points. That was a big reason why they were able to come back at last second there. And I do consider the Battlehawks to very much be one of the big dark horse teams. I do think from a base level, I feel like the Battlehawks don't seem like one of the more complete teams in the league, but at least they've got the potential. They've got the high ceiling to potentially be one of the contenders, even though it's tough to see it with the players this team has. But when you got A.J. McCarron, you got some experience, this team could go a long way. But you got the Sea Dragons on the other side, Ben DiNucci. Overall, he was impressive in Week 1, and that's why I like the Sea Dragons. I like Ben DiNucci as a quarterback. He threw a lot in Week 1, 35 for 54. 282 yards, a touchdown, over 2 picks. So did throw a couple interceptions. You do want to keep away from those turnovers, but overall, I was impressed by him. And Seattle being at home in this matchup does make a difference. They've got plenty of depth in the receiving core, and I said this heading into Week 1 as well. This offense looks great. I think they've got tremendous potential offensively. It's just the defense that does bring me a bit of concern. And honestly, the defense is going to determine how good this team is going to be this season and how far they can go. But that said, let's get to prediction here for the Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons. This matchup, I'm going to be taking the Sea Dragons. 20-14 is my predicted final score. I just like Seattle more in this matchup. They're at home. I think the way they played against the Defenders, they're ready to get a win here. And I like Ben DiNucci. I like this team in general. I think they're a complete team. It's just defensively, that's kind of where I have questions. But I do think they have a solid matchup here against the Battlehawks, and they get the win 20-14. But if St. Louis can play the way they did towards the end of last week for this entire game, I could very well see them winning this matchup. I'll say 55% towards the Sea Dragons. The spread's going Seattle by 3. I do have Seattle covering the spread and the under in this matchup, with the line being at 36.5. The next game is going to be the Defenders and the Vipers. This is also an intriguing matchup. You got the Defenders, who I've got ranked as number 1. Looking forward to Week 2. The Vipers number 7, but I don't think there's a huge gap in talent between these two teams. Both teams I think are pretty good. Honestly, it's just the Guardians who I think are a bad team in this league. But the Defenders, you got Jordan Ta'amu, Derek King, likely to split time at quarterback. I do want to see Derek King more. Jordan Ta'amu has been a bit of a disappointment in spring leagues the past couple of seasons, even though he's shown potential in the past. Defensively, the Defenders are as strong as anyone. That's for sure. It's just the offense, which is a bit of a question. But they're coming off of an impressive win over Seattle, and the Sea Dragons, I see them being definitely contender in this league. So that was an impressive win for them, and for that reason, I've got them at number 1. But for the Vipers, this team has got Luis Perez, who definitely had heavy stats, you could say, in Week 1. You look at his stats, he was 22 for 36, 249 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, over 2 interceptions. Overall, not a bad game for him, but he did throw a couple of interceptions, but he did have 3 touchdowns. So we'll see if he's able to improve on that in Week 2. But I do like Luis Perez as a quarterback, and this team is not terrible. They got some experience. They got some standout players as well. I like the Vipers, and I think in this matchup, I'm actually going to take them to beat the Defenders. 21-16 is my predicted final score. So I've got a 7/1 here. But I think the Vipers being at home, this is also a team that I see potential in. They played it really close against the Renegades this past weekend, who I see being one of the better teams in this league. And so that said, I'm going to be going Vipers here 21-16. So I'll say 55% towards Vegas. Over-under is 36.5. So I am taking the over barely for this matchup. And I've got Vegas covering the spread in the end, which is currently 3.5 points towards them, which may surprise you one way or another, considering DC is widely thought of to be one of the more complete teams in the league. Up next, we got the San Antonio Brahmas and the Orlando Guardians. I got the Brahmas ranked at number 6 as we look forward to week 2. Guardians are number 8. And I think the Guardians are far and away the worst team in the league as we look forward to week 2. This team lost to the Roughnecks 12-33, got blown out to the Houston Roughnecks. Paxton Lynch got benched. Quentin Dormady's in at quarterback, and he wasn't terribly impressive when he played in week 1. So the Guardians are a team. Defensively, they're just not very good. I mean, this is a team that I see being a bottom feeder in this league. This is a crucial game for them, though, to build some momentum, get a win on the record. I mean, this is a time where they definitely need it as we look forward to the second week of the season. But the Brahmas on the other side, they had control of the St. Louis Battlehawks in week 1 until the very end, and they ended up taking a brutal loss because of it. Jack Cohn overall was impressive, 25 for 36, just over 200 yards and a touchdown, also an interception, but I was impressed by him. You also got Kalen Ballage, who was a strong player in the backfield. And so, I mean, I think the Brahmas are still very much a dark horse team in the XFL, despite being 0-1 to start off this season. But this is a crucial game for them. You don't want to slip up here going on the road to a team that I definitely consider is the worst team in the league. And so we'll see how home field advantage plays a factor in this matchup. And that said, for the prediction for this game, I'm going to be going with the Brahmas here. 24-17 is my predicted final score. I honestly considered taking the Brahmas by more here, but I'm going to keep it within a touchdown. And obviously the scores are tough to predict, even tougher in the XFL because of the extra point rules with the 1, 2, and 3-point conversions. But this is kind of a rough score estimate. I'm going to say 24-17 Brahmas here, so I'll say 55% towards San Antonio. Over-under is 34.5. So I'm taking the over for this game and San Antonio to cover the spread in the end. I see them winning this game. They're just the better team. And last but not least, we got the Arlington Renegades and the Houston Roughnecks. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend here. You got the second-ranked team against the third in my week 2 rankings. I think the Roughnecks are a team to really keep an eye on. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play in this matchup. They just beat the Guardians 33-12. They were number 6 in the rankings heading into week 1, moving up to number 3. Brandon Silvers overall played pretty well, did throw 2 interceptions, but I was impressed otherwise. And defensively, they were dominant. We know the Roughnecks are a team that very much could be the best team defensively in this league. And offensively, they were impressive against the Guardians. And so we'll see how they play against the Renegades. They also got home field advantage. Arlington on the other side had Drew Plitt at quarterback. They also got Kyle Sloter. So we'll see which quarterback gets more playing time. I'd assume at this point it's going to be Drew Plitt. But this team did have to come back to beat Vegas. They were down for a while, and they got them at the very end. And so that, I mean, it wasn't a very dominant win for the Renegades this past week. But when you got Bob Stoops as head coach, I think this team is in a really good spot with him. And overall, I see this team with tremendous potential. I think they've got the highest ceiling in the league. It's just a matter as to whether or not they can play at that level. But that said, let's get the prediction for this game. This is definitely, I think, the most intriguing matchup of the weekend. And that said, I'm going to be going with the Roughnecks to win this game, 27-20. I think Houston, the way they played against the Guardians, I think they keep that going in this matchup, and they get the win 27-20. What could be a higher scoring game in XFL terms. And so I think the Roughnecks win it 27-20. Renegades put up a fight, but it's not going to be enough in the end. Roughnecks win it 27-20. I'm going to say 55% towards the Roughnecks. Over-under is 40. I am taking the over and the Roughnecks to cover the spread in the end. That said, that's going to wrap it up for our Week 2 XFL game predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these game picks, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Get you on the next one.